welcome to the RV Inspection and Care podcast and video. I'm Dwayne. I'm a certified RV inspector, and today we're going to be talking about RV refrigerators and what's the best choice for you. Now, the RV refrigerator is an appliance that most people are either going to love a lot or they're going to hate it a lot. So what's the best choice? Well, as you'll see as we go along, it really depends on your particular RVing needs. Let's cover the three main choices that you have. The first one is the gas absorption refrigerator. It's what's often just called an RV refrigerator. The second is the residential refrigerator that we're all very used to. It operates on 120 volt AC power using a compressor. The third kind of refrigerator uses a compressor too, but it only runs on 12 volt DC power. So let's talk about the pros and the cons of each one of these kinds of refrigerators, and that way you can determine what works best for you. Let's start with the gas absorption type, what's commonly called an RV refrigerator. Well, it uses a very unique process. It's a heated chemical process that changes liquid to vapor and then back to liquid again as it moves around the back of your RV, and that process sucks heat out of the inside of the RV, leaving cold temperatures behind. So it's very unique in the way that it operates. But one big advantage of this kind of refrigerator is there's no moving parts. And how does that make an advantage for you? Well, you can take this refrigerator bouncing down the road and wherever you go with your RV, and it will stand up to the stresses of RV life very well. Another big pro is that it's made for an RV, and that means that the doors on it have special latches so they don't just come open very easily while you're traveling down the road, and then you go back and find you've got all kinds of food all over your floor. That's a huge advantage. But probably the biggest advantage of the gas absorption refrigerator is its flexibility. It can run off of multiple sources of power. There are often two-way refrigerators and three-way refrigerators. The two-way gas absorption fridge uses either 120 volt AC power, like when you plug into the pedestal at an RV park or campground, or if you're away from all of that power, you can switch the refrigerator over to LP or propane that will heat that chemical process and work just fine. And a three-way refrigerator adds one more power source, and that's a 12 volt DC power source. So these fridges can be very flexible. Now, what are the cons for them? Well, probably the number one con is they're very susceptible to high temperatures. So in the summertime, when you hit 90 degrees and above, you will often see RV refrigerators start to struggle. And really, they never do freeze quite as well as the good old compressor fridge that we have at home. In the industry, there's what we call the ice cream test. You take a container of ice cream, you put it in the refrigerator, leave it there for a while and see what happens. If it's nice and hard, well, then you know the fridge is working really well. But when you hit summertime temperatures, you're very often going to find that ice cream is going to be soft in a gas absorption refrigerator. The next con is they're also usually much smaller than most residential refrigerators. So what does that mean? Well, you're going to be making a lot more trips to the grocery store for food on a regular basis than you're ever used to at home. The next con is that they do require being pretty much level to avoid damage to the refrigerator. Now, they don't have to be perfectly level, but reasonably so. And every day you operate them off level does a little bit of damage that over time will shorten the life of the refrigerator. The next con is that they often require manual defrosting. We never deal with that at home, right? Well, in an RV refrigerator, get used to that process, and especially so in humid weather. Another con is that they require very good venting and airflow behind the refrigerator. This is critical to the function of a gas absorption refrigerator. And a lot of times there can be problems with that. The final con is it is an RV product, and therefore they're going to be expensive to buy. Now, who would be best suited for a gas absorption refrigerator? Well, first of all, they're very good for boondockers. If you want to get away from all power sources and be out there for a while, you can do that with a gas absorption refrigerator with very little power, just running it off of LP or propane. And because it's so flexible, it's great for RVers that like to do both. They like to boondock and they like to be in an RV park or campground sometimes. It can be just at home in both of those areas. Now, let's talk about the residential refrigerator, the one we're all used to. The pros are many. They can be much larger, first off, than most RV refrigerators. They're going to hold a lot more food that way, less trips to the grocery store, and so on. And the food is going to be cold. So that means, yes, your ice cream will be hard. Also, they automatically defrost. So there's no manual process you have to go through there, and that's great. There's no special vent behind them that's required with airflow to make them function. It's a good idea to have space behind it for heat, but there's not the critical need for it that there is in a gas absorption refrigerator. And a big pro is that in many cases, they're less expensive than the other two options we're going to cover today. Well, what are the cons for residential refrigerators? First of all, the big one, they're not made for RVs. So that means you're going to face challenging modifications to put them in an RV in many cases. In fact, I've heard of people that they couldn't get it in the RV door, so they took out a windshield to get the refrigerator in. I've even heard of some taking out a slide to do that. So it can be challenging just to get them in the RV. And then the area they fit into is not made for a residential fridge, so very often you've got some challenging modifications there as well. And they're going to require modifications to keep the doors closed while you're traveling. You know, residential fridges are made to be able to open real easy. Well, you don't want that while you're traveling down the road. And the final big challenge is they're going to take a lot of 120 volt AC power to run well. So that means if you're going to go boondocking, you're going to need some serious equipment. You're going to need a big solar array to grab power from the sun. You're going to need a big solid battery bank to store that power in. And then you're going to need a solid inverter that will take that battery power and convert it into 120 volt AC power to power the fridge. So it can be a real challenge for boondocking. Well, who is best suited then for the residential refrigerator? In my opinion, it's really good for full-timers. Full-timers who really want the conveniences of home. They want cold food. They want their ice cream hard. It's also good for large families, too, that would find it difficult to keep enough food in a gas absorption refrigerator to last any length of time. And It's great for people who spend the vast majority, if not all of their time, in RV parks and campgrounds. Well, let's move on to our third choice, and that's the 12-volt refrigerator. And it has really all the advantages of a compressor refrigerator, like the residential fridge. That means it's going to handle higher temperatures very well. There's no special need for venting and airflow behind it. Your food is going to be very cold. You're going to have really good rock-hard ice cream if that's what you want. But it's also made for an RV, so it will have that door latch equipment that keeps the doors closed while you're traveling. Another advantage to some is there's no propane option here, just like there isn't with the residential fridge. And why is that an advantage? Well, it's common knowledge that burning propane in the refrigerator has been the source of several RV fires over the years. And some people just don't want to think about that or worry about it, so no propane is involved here. There's also no leveling that's required as well, and that's big. And a huge advantage, no manual defrosting. It all happens automatically. And one other big point is, if you boondock, you will not need an inverter to do so, because an inverter takes battery power, converts it to 120-volt AC power, and this fridge only runs on 12-volt DC power straight from the batteries. Well, now, what are the cons of 12-volt refrigerators? Well, you're still not going to be able to get the size that you can get with a residential fridge. When you're talking about size in refrigerators, residential fridges are always going to win that game. And they're going to use a lot of battery power. You know, even though you don't need an inverter, if you're going to go off-grid and boondock with a 12-volt refrigerator, you're going to need still some serious equipment. You're going to need a good, solid solar array on top of the RV. You're going to need to feed that into a big battery bank that will last a good long time, because that refrigerator is going to require a lot of power. Now, you're either going to have to do that or just run a generator to power that refrigerator while boondocking. And so that's a big drawback in that case if you like to boondock. The final con is, like anything else that's made for RVs, it's very expensive to buy. So who would be best suited for a 12-volt refrigerator? In my opinion, it's a good middle-of-the-road choice. Maybe you're really not happy fully with the gas absorption fridge, and you're not really wanting to go all the way to a residential fridge. Well, the 12-volt fridge kind of sits right in between and borrows good aspects from both of them. And they're definitely better for folks who like to spend their time in RV parks and campgrounds, and of course, those who want their ice cream cold. Well, I hope the video that I've gone over today, this video, will help you know more now about the choices that you have in RV refrigerators, and will help you be able to make the decision then that's going to be best for you and the way that you like to travel and camp. And that's it for now. Have safe and happy travels, my friends. Until next time.